Welcome to the Indigenous Street and Community Theater Workshop with our workshop leader, Murray Pruden. I am Isaac Johnson Good. I am your tech host, and it's my job to make sure that this workshop flows smoothly. So please drop me a note in the chat if you have a tech question or any problems as we go along. This workshop is going to be about 50 minutes long, and I'll be sure to give you the 5-minute warning at that point. This workshop is going to be recorded for replay for any registered participants. At the end, we will ask you to fill out a mini pop-up evaluation for 5 minutes. Shouldn't take too long. And we would appreciate it if you'd fill it out because we really value your input. One more thing, if you find yourself in the wrong workshop, feel free to leave the Zoom room, go back to Huva, and then make your way into the correct one. In any case, it is my great pleasure to introduce Murray Pruden. Welcome to the workshop.
Great. Thanks, Isaac, and welcome everybody. Good to see everybody here, everyone in attendance, and everyone in attendance in this great gathering of storytelling and such. I personally like this to see this online, but I also like to see in-person stuff because a lot of things that I do with what I'm going to present with you in this short time together, really, I've always done really in person because there's some physicality to who we are as people as well, and how we communicate and how we actually tell stories. But before that, a quick introduction of myself. I'm Reverend Murray Pruden. I am executive minister for the Indigenous Ministries and Justice with the United Church of Canada. I recognize some faces in here watching. I see Teresa there too. Hi, Teresa. How are you doing? Yes, Catherine Stewart. I see here. Yeah, just some people that I do recognize from other places and connections in my life. But yes, I am coming to you live from Vancouver, British Columbia in the West Coast. And I'm actually at one of our local churches here in the greater Vancouver area. I'd just like to say thank you to Trinity Grace United in Vancouver for allowing me to use their space here to do this presentation. And part of the reason why I'm doing this here is because I want to alleviate any kind of technical error issues I've been having lately at home with my internet. So less issues of freezing up and stuff during this presentation together. Again, my name is Murray, and I'm Nihiao. I'm Cree from Treaty 6 territory, originally in north central Alberta, from Goodfish Lake First Nations. And I am here to do a nice presentation for you, and I hope you enjoy our time together. A part of this presentation, a little lowdown, is I'll do some introductions and explanations of this workshop on, well, I label it as street theater, but it's street theater, it's community theater, it's slash storytelling. And all three kind of run together because for me, it's all storytelling. It's all based on this idea of telling our stories. And the reason why I say street theater is because we have conversations on the street. We engage with one another on the street. And sometimes little do we know that we're actually creating stories. People gather to have stories. So we'll be doing a little bit of that, but there'll be a little bit of participation too. And I really indulge with you to take part as you're able to with some of this storytelling and ideas that will come up. And I will also open up to any questions if we do have time at the end. So that being said, I actually want to share a little story with you, just to kind of go with our theme of this time together. And it's a very fresh story. It actually just happened to me on my way here to Trinity Grace United from my place to here. I took the transit here, and very interesting thing, I've noticed all the hustle and bustle, the people, and I just felt like I was like, this feels like pre-COVID, and I feel like people are just busy and happy and grumpy or just concentrated on their here and there, going here and there, and I felt very good because I'm like, this just reminds me of being together before COVID, and I just had a good feeling. I got on the bus and then going down West Broadway, one of the main streets here, on the transit, and it was a fair amount of people on the bus, which is good to see. People are still using transit. We don't have a transit strike going on here, so we're happy over here in Vancouver for that. But I was looking at some of the local businesses, and businesses have always been a thing that I always very grateful for, because local business in Vancouver is very great. It's very humbling to see little bakeries, little shops. Um, in my area of town, local business is the means for so many people, and we always try to support those businesses. I did see a convenience store, and I noticed this convenience store many times in the past. And this convenience store opened up probably about in middle of COVID. They opened up their business, and everything's new and fresh, and it's a little corner convenience store on Broadway. And I was looking through the window, and as I looked through the window, I saw bread for one thing. The entire front wall of the convenience store is all window, and you can see through the entire of this little shop. But when you look through the window, they have these two racks that seems to be they built themselves right across the front windows, and on those two front racks is their supply of bread products. And I was very curious to see that, because my mind started to start react to what I was looking at. Because for me, I know that bread, being a perishable item, um, my first question that came to mind is, why would you put bread in the window? See, I see some nods from some people here on Zoom. Why would you put bread in the window? The product is going to waste. It's going to go bad. So all these things started to rumble in my head, and I just kept thinking, this is just not good. Like, you're gonna go through so much product, and you're gonna go to waste, and I started thinking about all these other things, like we're thinking about food preservation, we're thinking about all these things. So like my mind just started to go on and started to just react to seeing just several loaves of bread and bread products sitting primarily in the window, so, and with light coming onto it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm hoping that I can let this go. So we're going to hold on to that story for a little later. But that was my reaction to seeing something so that I know is like, you don't put bread in the window. So I'm wondering if this is if there's something that I'm missing here. Anyway, I'll let that go for now, and I will ask Isaac. Can you put on our PowerPoint? Great. Thank you, Isaac. So today we are going to be talking about activism with street theater and storytelling. So what I like to in detail this as being our words, actions, motions, mind, and heart. And that creates story. Um, our idea of street theater and community theater storytelling is, for me, is an action of expression. Expressing something that is of based with community identification. So it's theatrical in presentation. It's performed in a public space and doesn't have a paying audience. Not saying that you can't have a paying audience, but the idea is that it's the actual message that you're projecting is the humbleness that comes with the gift of the performance. Expressing what is actually needed to be said is the actual golden egg that you're trying to achieve. Street theater is extremely useful for raising awareness because it's informal by nature and provokes the audience to discuss difficult and controversial issues like those surrounding HIV/AIDS, as an example. Um, the idea that it provokes the audience to discuss difficult and controversial issues is your goal. It's a way for a community to express themselves without it being too much in your face, too much, heated debate sometimes. It's an art form that allows people to realize there's something that we need to further discuss. It's like creating the breaking point for open dialogue sometimes if needed. I will use the example, a past community storytelling or street theater was done in one of our home communities back home with this method and with this technique. And the local young adult group were starting to create their thoughts and create their presentation, create their artwork, create their little short visual. And as they were doing it, they were realizing that it, what they were creating was really going to be controversial. But the lead person who was supporting them and helping them at the time told them, "Don't stop. This needs to be done. Just don't worry about that, because that's not you. This is the message. This is the message coming to you from what's actually happening in your community." So as they were going on and creating it, they did their presentation at a local community hall. People came out and they performed it as a presentation to their community, and the community was taken back um, that they agreed, that this issue with you know, I believe it was to do with child abuse, was actually a big issue in their community, and they were just avoiding it and not actually bringing it to the table, that they need more safety placements, social services needs, all these things. That it gave the community members and local leadership the opportunity to start discussing it a little bit further. It allowed them to finally come to terms that we have a social problem in our community. Let's now create some ideas and solutions and recommendations to move forward. Because the community was so wrapped up in their own bubbles within their own lives that they didn't take it upon themselves to actually face the difficulty, face the truth that was before them. So that's just one example. I'm not saying that community storytelling and street theater is just for heavy-hitted controversial means. It's what is going on in your world, in the world that in your community, and how can we face it together, or how can we bring this message out so we can understand it better together. So with this with community storytelling, um, it some of the things is that this can be done for free. It takes place usually in public areas or given permission areas, and it's for any socioeconomic backgrounds, like and it it will bring different aspects and reactions from people, and you want that because you want to see what the truths are when things are being presented, or being the stories that are being told. Um, Usually it's a combination of things. It's sometimes not just one thing, but the main idea is that there is there is a story that needs to be told, and we're trying to create and formulate that in a art guided way. And with that too is, once it's been done, those who are participating in it, those that are who have created it, can actually walk away from it as well, without it being an interference in their lives. Um, that's what we're going to start kind of delving into. But before that, I figure that I would like to kind of start interjecting with you as a workshop group right now, and just get your ideas of things here. So Isaac, let's go to the video, please. So when we go to this video, I just want you to watch and observe what's going on. Oh, I don't hear any sound, Isaac. No.
Something wrong?
There's no sound.
Oh.
Did you tick the enable sound?
There we go.
I can only hear a little bit of it.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the quiet jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. Near the village, the peaceful village.
Okay, Isaac, I'm going to ask you to pause it for now, and
near the village, the quiet village, the lion sleeps tonight.
I'm not sure if Isaac can hear me.
Sorry about that. It was a bit too loud on my end.
Okay, so you can take it back to the PowerPoint. Thanks, Isaac. Okay, so before we move on, I'm going to put it to a side gallery here to see as many people as possible, and just generally ask the group if anybody wants to state what you observed in that video. The music was playing, "The Lion Sleeps Tonight," and the hippopotamus was singing and such. But what did you see different between the hippo and the dog? If anybody wants to answer, by all means.
It looks like the dog was showing off. They were not really united in the point that they were trying to make.
Okay, good. Anybody else have another observation?
Seemed to me like the dog was really enthusiastic to join in, but the hippo didn't really appreciate that enthusiasm.
That's good. That's good. Well, thank you for those two observations, and very much both of you are right on the ball on that. So yes, the hippo is very much very closed off, not wanting to fully participate, is just there to sing their song, and that's it, and that's who they are. They're a very internal person, whereas the dog is very, he's very out there expressing himself and dancing and moving and being very, very external and really showing off, as John was mentioning, and that's great too, and that's kind of what I wanted to let you know with this process of storytelling, is that not everybody's is the same in their practices and their storytelling. Everybody has their place and their means in storytelling. Each person communicates differently, and that each person has their own types of expression. So when we delve into this practice of community and storytelling, we really have to be mindful of that as well, that we all come from different ideas, different emotions and expressions, and we need to always honor that amongst each other. And then when you're looking into groups, everybody in a group is so much different. There's always a different idea, and people express things differently. Some are very, very big, some are very, very small. And we use this technique with the hippo and with the dog because they are both expressing their stories together. And actually, if you put them together, they become this very comical or different way of telling the story of The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Just wanted to use that. I like using that video because it reminds us that we are all able to storytell in our own given ways, and that we all participate in storytelling in our own different ways as well. Can we go to the next slide, Isaac? There we go. So this goes along with this idea of creating and planning. When we create and plan, this idea of trying to tell a story. And a story can be developed and scripted or portrayed in various different ways. But for this idea of community street theater, is that two main things when we're doing some creating and planning, and that's always the first phase of this, is that we always think of location and script. And I'm using this through dramatical, theatrical expressions. There are different ways you can express it, but because of my background, I would say, well, we need to know location, and we need to know what our script is. We got to know what story we're trying to say and what parts people are going to be playing. So part of this process in brainstorming is to create and plan is always to location. So before getting started, important to consider the location of the performance. With the script, developing a rough outline of the scenario for the group wishes to perform, including the main characters and the starting and ending points of the scene. So create a place of safety and play. So there's always the third one, create a place of safety and play. So location is very important. Where are you going to perform this? But what are you trying to say? What is your message? So the message comes in some development form, coming together to create the message that your group or groups of people will dive into. For me, I've always developed this as being an organic process, because we may have thought we're coming together to talk about bread. we thought we're going to come together and talk about the price of bread and inflation. And we come together and we start talking about it and start developing our stories as we start bouncing ideas off, and we start talking about how inflation and the prices of bread, the price of flour and products and sugar and the cost of power, and we start seeing our expansion happening, and then we find out that, well, no, what we're really talking about is the lack of government supports for seniors. It could go that way, where our actual story is, we're a group of seniors that come together, and we're actually, it's not about bread. Bread is our symbol, but we're talking about the lack of government supports for senior citizens in Canada. This is our message. And then we realize that that is the actual basis. We're using the symbol of bread, but the actual message is we need better, implementations and services for seniors because of the low economy that we're living in. Just using that as an example, that's where the development and brainstorming can come from. So that's part of script playing. And as that goes on, we start looking into how does that visually look or verbally sound, all these things. Just remember, when we create and plan, there are things that also organically happen, that we start seeing people's skill levels come out, and we start diving into those. And for me, that's a beautiful process. I love that process because you just see everybody. I always say this is the bullshit thing about people as human beings. We like to say, oh, I don't know, I can't sing, or oh no, I can't act, oh I can't write, oh I don't know how to draw a picture. I say BS. When you get into a creative process, when you start developing things in some creative way, you actually do. You just never had the opportunity to I always say people can sing, people can act, people can draw, can express themselves, but we're just been built into the society of just blah, of just talking, of just verbal talk. We I guess what I'm saying is I'm blessing you guys with the reminder that we are more than just able to communicate through our voices. We're able to through verbal talk. Majority of our communication actually comes from our physicality, how we move, how we visually express ourselves. Like those are visual cues. That's where we get majority of our communications from one another. Be like, it's sometimes it's hard to see in Zoom, but in person it's much easier to understand your audience. For me, I always think of Zoom is a mask for everybody, because it's so easy just to sit here. And I could say, you don't know, but I'm actually not wearing any pants. Because we're in a Zoom call, you only have to see me from waist up, but I'm not wearing any pants. So it's a mask where we hide behind these things, behind Zoom and stuff. I'm actually wearing pants just as a disclaimer. I'm just using as an example. But that's the thing, is that we only give about 10 to 12% of communication by verbal contact. The rest of it is all expression, and we don't realize it at times that this is how we actually pick up cues of one another and visually communicate and talk to one another. Just to add a little note on that. So back to the create and plan, I just want to add in to create a place of safety and play. One of my number one keys about this is, if you're going to create and give people an opportunity to express themselves, be bold and be big and such, you have to think of safety. You have to create a safe space for a person to do that. If a person does not feel safe to do that, they're not going to participate. They're going to withdraw. They're not going to engage and give their actual mindset, their heart, their emotions, their truths. because you want that. So you have to make a rule. You need to have a rule as a group, is that in this space together, in this time together, in whatever given field that we're given, we are creating a safe space for us to create and plan and play together. Nothing goes beyond our walls, nothing goes beyond our group. When we come in here, we hang up our coats of who we are in the outside world, and we come into this safe circle and create and play together. And if people can honor that, then it creates that identity of safe play. So just want to add that note in, that safe play needs to happen in order for people to actually be truthful to the art of storytelling. Next slide, please. Isaac, there we go. So part of this process is, once you go through the brainstorming sessions and creating sessions, you want to start getting on your feet. And by getting on your feet, I also mean that whatever technique or what type of muse or method you want to use to create your message, it can be action, it could be music, it could be artwork, it could be whatever the uniqueness of your storytelling is to the world, go with it. But for the format of actual physicality and work and theater, we're calling this work and play. So for this, there are three main points that you want to hit. Is once you create your script and you want to get off your feet and do these three things: rehearse, and then whatever location you're in, you do your showtime and story time. And then once everything is done, you as a group want to evaluate what you just did as a group, to understand, did we do it? Did we actually create something understanding, or did we confuse the hell out of people? So, or did we confuse ourselves, or was our message not clear? It's a bit of a self-evaluation. So rehearse, showtime, story time, and then evaluate. So those are going to be your basic placements for all your work together. And the main thing is to rehearse until everybody's comfortable. Rehearse until give yourself whatever timeline that is needed for whatever message you want to project. And remember that this projection, or this story, the showtime that you're doing, is really not based on length and time. If your message is that we're going to run out on this down to Main Street, and we're going to perform in front of the cathedral, on the steps of the cathedral, and we're going to blast out some message and action for 3 minutes, and then we're going to dash off and run off. Like, your message can be 3 minutes, your message may be 5 minutes. It could be actually you realizing we actually have a larger story here. We actually doing a 30-minute little showcasing messages of the community that are all interconnected. That's fine, but just remember that whatever length of time you are showcasing also determines how much actual rehearsal time you're going to need. With all this in mind, when we talk about the show itself and the actual presentation, and me mentioning earlier that this cost is free, what I also want to say to that is that usually when we're thinking of storytelling and community theater, is we're working with a no budget, meaning that you're using items, thoughts, things that are free, that you have, that is available to you, so that it's it's the expressions and visuals that you have. You want to be mindful of those things too. That when you're creating, you're utilizing what you have, and if what you have isn't there, then maybe your script needs to be changed as well. So those are some of the things you might want to think about as you're doing this. That the idea is like, well, we have zero budget. We're not going to go out and buy a 100 umbrellas because we want to do a scenario on climate change. If you don't have 100 umbrellas, don't do something with 100 umbrellas, is what I'm saying. You utilize and be creative with your method of message. Let's go on to the next slide. All right, so let's play. So we do have some time left here, of course, and what I wanted to do is kind of go into that bit of create and plan with this group here. We're a small enough group, we're a small enough ensemble to kind of come together and bring some thoughts in together. So by that I say, let's play, let's start some creation. And then I want to use that as kind of a bit of an example of where we could go with this, with a group message of this group here. So I have the next 3 slides are different visuals. So we're going to show them to you in a few seconds here. But what I want you to do is I want you to, because we're not going to use all 3 slides, 3 pictures. We're only going to use one as a group. So what I want you to do is give yourselves a minute or 2 and take a look at the slides when they pop up here. And we're going to do a little poll. So this is picture number 1. Let's take a moment, take a look at picture 1 on your screen. All right. Yeah, that's picture 1. Okay, let's go to picture number 2. And this is picture number 2. Very interesting. Love what they did with the walls. And picture number 3. Right. So those are 3 pictures. Okay. So I want you, if you guys are able to, please use your reactions on the Zoom here. Either use thumbs up or raise your hand, or whatever icon you like. And we're going to do a quick vote here, and we're gonna try to track your votes here. So let's go back to picture number 1, please, Isaac. Okay, so how many people would like to vote for picture number 1? If you can. Okay, I see 1 hand, 2, 3, 4. I see 4 altogether. Thank you. Okay, picture number 2, please. Oh, sorry, 4, 5. I see 5 hands. Okay, picture number 2, please. All right. Oh, got a lot more
Catherine,
here.
your hand's still up. You don't get to vote twice.
I saw. Did I see 4 or did I see 5? Can I get the hands up again for the picture number 2? One, 2, 3, 4. Okay, thank you. And the last picture, please. Yep. Sure. Okay, so okay, 1, 2, All right, thank you so much. Okay, so a very actually slim majority here going with picture number 2. So as a group, we're going to look at picture number 2. So Isaac, if you want to keep it on picture number 2, awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys for participating. So so we have picture number 2 here, and we're going to use this in this create and plan. So we're going to use this as our only given item that we have to create some story. All right. So let's go back to what the story I told at the beginning about the bread in the window. So remember I told you about the story about the bread in the window in the convenience store. Like, why would they put bread in the window when they know that, you know, it's a perishable item, and, you know, if bread in plastic, it's going to heat up and it's going to get moldy faster, and, you know, it's going to create issues. And so my story about bread in the window, and again, we're just using it as an example. But that was my concern. So I shared that with you. I shared that with you as my community, and I shared that that's an issue. So let's talk about bread in the window. What are your thoughts about what I expressed with bread in the window? So if you want to say something, by all means, unmute yourself and share your thoughts with me about my story of bread in the window. What are your thoughts of what I told you about the bread in the window? Erin, go ahead.
Well, I thought that maybe that's the only thing they had to sell in their store. So maybe they put it in the window because to show people that they actually have something. Is that what you mean?
Sure. Yeah, well, I should expand a little bit of the store. Like, it's a brand new convenience store. It has everything inside. You can see in like they have their shelves are full of stuff. They and maybe that's what it is, Erin. It could be that they want to let people know that they sell bread. And that could be something very easily that they did, is to put bread in the window, because they know that, you know, one of the key things to every household is like, was it bread, butter, milk, you know, those kind of things that they have that. So maybe they want to let people know we sell bread and bread products.
Oh, I thought that this was the store now. You know, that there had
Sorry?
been like I thought this was the store, that the new store you were talking about, but that somehow like a bomb had gone off and now this was the new location.
No. Yeah, let's not focus on the picture, but just my
Okay,
story
sorry
about the
about
bread.
Okay.
It's okay. Martha, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I'm remembering that decades ago when I lived in Baghdad, Iraq, for a short time. The bread was made in the morning and it was gone by the end of the day. And if you put your bread in the window, and it's fresh and it smells good, it's going to sell like hotcakes. If it's factory bread in bags that's supposed to last for 2 weeks, it'll start molding in the sun. So I was trying to put a different angle on it from different cultures and places.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, and that's a very good question, Martha, and because it's like because I don't know who the owners are. I just see the convenience store, and it could be somebody from a different culture that has that same teaching, you know. But that's the thing with any bakery that I know of, like any local bakery, you know, you want to go in as early as possible because you want to get the fresh bread, because by the time, you know, it comes to noon, there's no bread left, and you're left with whatever they have left, right? So that's a very good thing, and again, that's something I didn't think about. I just thought of like, bread's going to go bad sitting in the window. Susan, you're going to say something?
Oh, yeah, that was my question, was, do they bake their own bread? Because if they do, naturally they want people to know when it's ready. So we put it in the window.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Wes, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just saying, But I was thinking when you said kind of staples being bread, butter, and milk, maybe bread's the better thing to put in the window. But actually, though, yeah, there could be something to that, right? Like, you know, a convenience store has a lot of most convenience stores have a lot of junk food, which I really like. But by putting bread in the window, they could be sending the message that, like, we have the real stuff that you really need here.
That's I like that thought too. That's like bread versus junk food. You know, what do you want more of in your lifestyle, right? Any other thoughts from anybody else?
How about hanging the bread because of all the animals that are crawling on the ground?
Oh yeah, bread high enough to get from, yes, okay. See, like, and again, that's something that I did not think of when about all that either. Okay, great. Barbara, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, make it boring with just bread and nobody will break in.
That could be it too. Break-in measures. Okay, got it. Security. Great, thanks. So we have some I see some ideas, and for me this is great because I wasn't thinking about all these other things when we start kind of delving into it, that this bread is very, it could be some cultural placement, it could have something to do with health and well-being, it has something to do again with measures of maybe security and security, you know, for the business, and bread, you know, is something that would sell faster than, we'll say, like something that is in the coolers and things like that. So let's put a pause on the bread and we'll quickly go over to the picture now. So this is our, so I'm acting as kind of leader of this group right now, and because of my bread story. So bread in the window, and our discussion here. So we have we only have this picture for our group to express our story about bread in the window, from what I told you, but also what you guys all expressed as well. Bread on the high shelf because to get it away from rodents. Bread being healthier over junk food. You know, a cultural difference. And also bread sells faster, break-in measures for security for the building, all those things. So we talk about bread being there in the window. How would we try to creatively forecast this into this picture if we had to? And again, remember, we're in this creative planning phase. So if you were to see this picture and you thought about bread in a window, what would you think of this? I already heard, who was it that mentioned that there's, somebody already gave us a very good expression already using this picture. Was it Susan? Was it you?
Aaron, it was Aaron with the bomb going off.
Aaron. Yes, Aaron, can you expand on that a little bit for us? Give us more, and then we'll go with Karen after Aaron.
Well, this looks like the shape of a small corner store to me. What you call in Montreal a dépanneur, where there's a window in the front and then a door, just like that, and it's long and narrow. But this looks like, you know, like, I don't know, a bomb, or there was some sort of, you know, it's been abandoned for a while. And it just looks like this is the kind of place that would be really inexpensive, and somebody that doesn't have a lot of money and wanted to open a store, well, I bet they could walk in here and say, up, let's sweep it up and paint the wall, and hey, hey honey, let's get our kids and make a corner store. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just using my imagination.
Well, I like that idea. Corner store. Yes. Okay. Karen and then Martha.
Well, I look at this and we're talking about bread, and this looks like there is a need in the community. People are hungry. So how can we help them to be fed? So that's how I put those two together. Is this looks like there's a need for help, for feeding the hungry, for making change, positive change in the neighborhood.
Great, thank you. Martha.
I guess building on Aaron and Karen, or Karen, or if you're Karen, I thought immediately of food deserts in big cities, North American cities, and a community. I'm interested by the trees outside the window though, but I'm thinking about a community coming together and saying, hey, we need a store, and then one by one, like one person starts and then a neighbor sees and finds out what she's doing, and they're cleaning it out and fixing it up and putting in a store in a collaborative neighborhood way. So
great, thank you, Martha. Stella.
I see this is a place that can be only used in the daytime. There's no electricity, but there's a big window, and when it's sunny, you can see inside. So hang the bread means, hey, we're open today. It's not always open, but just when there's bread hanging in the window.
Right. Great, thank you, Stella. I do know that we're slowly running out of time, and so I'm just going to close this up a little bit. But we were on a start of something. We were on a start of creating some collaboration, some ideas, and I've jotted down a lot of your ideas. There's a need in the community. This can be redeveloped as a corner store. To help people that need to be fed. We need a store. It's daytime, no electricity, open today. Like these kind of things are now starting to develop from my story about the bread in the window. So I'm starting to hear from you as members of my community that there's some type of need that we need to discuss, and by using if we were to further our planning and scripting, that if this was our visual to the need in the community, we can delve in it a little bit deeper and use this visual to help tell our story. But at the same time, if we were in person, maybe as a group, we would say, okay, well, is there a message that we want to write in this picture alongside it, and things like that. So we could brainstorm and create what our story, what our message is. But we could also think about those other ideas of like, are we going to make it an art form, or are we going to do it as a dramatic tableau or something? Like we could carry on. So usually when I do this workshop, it's usually in person. This is the second time I've done this on Zoom. Usually it's harder to kind of collaborate together in a short time, but I just wanted to introduce this idea to you, that things like this, that what we've started to create can be a really well-established message that we could portray out to the world and to our community if we were in a set community. So it's just a little bit light practice for us. If you would like to know more, please, by all means, you can let me know through this conference gathering, getting hold of me. I'm also happy to help support this type of workshop further for a larger group. I will share with this group really quickly that we that I've done this in various ways. One of the last physical times I've done this in person was in October of 2022 in Tatamagouche with diaconal ministers, and they wanted to create a message, create some ideas and messages about reconciliation, and also within the United Church of Canada, we have what we call the calls to the church with the Indigenous Church, and they wanted to start expressing their ideas and to understanding it, but letting their communities know about it. And they wanted to use this method of community storytelling. And so for 3 days, we did this in groups and created some formats. And each we were broken into 4 groups, and each group did their own formulated message, presentation, and or little script of some drama and expression. And it was very well attuned, because we did it in a way where we all felt safe, for one thing. We all were relatable to the information that was being projected, and it created emotion. And again, that's the key. You want to create some type of emotion to those that you're trying to tell a story, so that people remember. Your objective is to let people remember. Oh, remember when we saw this group talk about bread in the window and the need of the need of a communal corner store in our community, and remember how they brought together with that visual that they gave us. Those are the things that you want people to remember, so that they remember the importance of your story, and that expression is made something and made a mark in their lives. Because that's the idea with me traditionally with storytelling is that you tell a story and you let those that are listening remember the story in their own way, and something will remind them of that. Whether it is that they see bread in a window or something, or they see they see bread and butter, or whatever it is that they remember. Oh my God, remember when remember when. And then they start telling that story to others. And that's the idea, is that we start becoming a ripple. And we start becoming a ripple in the water, we ripple out, and that message goes on, so that others will continue hearing that story. And that's the purpose of traditionally for storytelling, is that these stories are told so that others will always remember, that we're never forgotten of our story about bread in the window. So with that, I leave you with all this, and I really thank you for our short time. I always cringe. I'm like, oh, short time. We have not enough time for us to express ourselves and share a little bit more. But I felt it. I really felt it with the group and everything that you've shared with me. I feel very humbled and honored that you were willing to even partake with me in this very short time. And I look forward to hopefully meeting you all in person at some point in this lifetime. And yes, hearts to you too, Peg, and to everyone here. Blessings to you, to the rest of your time and your workshops. And I know that you'll enjoy all your time together. And thank you for those hearts as well. And I now need to pass this on to Isaac. So ekose, thank you. Hi.
Thank you so much for your leadership, Murray.